Long time no see. Welcome back to another episode of Mecha Mondays. You've all waited long enough, so let's not waste any more time. Today I'll be looking at a personal favorite of mine called RahXephon. Released in 2002 by Studio Bones, RahXephon is the story of a teenage boy, his mysterious giant robot, a shady military organization, apocalyptic overtones. Hey, wait a sec, this is starting to sound like another show, isn't it? Yeah, Neon Genesis Evangelion comes to mind. For a lot of folks, this is an instant deal breaker because they'd rather not watch what they feel is an imitation. I'll admit that RahXephon shares more than a few similarities with Evangelion, but it's hardly the same show. In fact, I think RahXephon actually holds up a lot better than Eva does, especially after repeated viewings. But rather than spend the whole time comparing the two series, let's just look at RahXephon by itself. In the year 2015, high school student Ayato Kamina lives a rather mundane life in the city of Tokyo, where he aspires to become a painter. Years earlier, a mysterious incident destroyed much of the world, leaving Tokyo as the only remaining city on Earth. Or is it? Suddenly, futuristic fighter craft enter Tokyo's airspace and obliterate its defenses, much to the surprise of Ayato. However, things get even more strange when a floating, statuesque machine emerges from the city to fight off the invaders. And to top it all off, Ayato is wanted by government agents, but they're quickly fought off by an unknown woman who's also been observing Ayato. Lost and confused, Ayato soon discovers an underground facility that houses a large floating egg. What's in the egg? Well, the RahXephon, of course, which Ayato uses to defeat the floating guardians and escape Tokyo. So, just what the heck is going on? The first time I watched this, I had so many questions, and all of this stuff happens within the first 2 episodes. But this is where RahXephon succeeds. It manages to explain its storyline quite well. We soon learn that Tokyo is surrounded by what looks like the planet Jupiter, and that Tokyo was taken over by human-like beings known as the Mu, who are actually in control of the city unbeknownst to the general population. We also learn that the rest of the world is actually intact, and that mankind has been trying to free Tokyo from Mulian control for quite some time. Oh yeah, and that Jupiter-shaped covering around Tokyo? It actually distorts time, so it's not really 2015, it's actually 2028 in the real world. With little time to digest all of that information, Ayato decides to join the military research organization, Terra, and combat the Mu with his powerful new mech, the RahXephon. One of the really interesting things about this show are the mechs themselves. Well, they're not really mechs, I guess you could say. They're called dolems. Basically, they're giant mystical machines controlled remotely by Mulian pilots. Oh yeah, and the dolems, they're made of clay. Yeah, I don't really get it either, but trust me, it gets weirder. The Mu controlled these machines by singing. Yes, singing. And they can even use sound as a weapon, as demonstrated here. But hey, we can't forget about the titular mech, the RahXephon. This thing is godlike, and is by all means a super robot. While being made out of clay, just like the dolems, the pilot actually sits inside of the machine. Also, the RahXephon favors more familiar weapons, such as lasers, bow and arrows, and even its fists to defeat adversaries. It can also use sound as a weapon, but it does so less frequently, especially because Ayato is not much of a singer. However, it's got one ability that is so awesome, I can't spoil it for you. Oh yeah, and just a side note, the RahXephon was actually modeled after Brave Raiden from the 1970s. I mean, if you look at them side by side, the similarities are quite obvious. Now, I know I said I wouldn't compare this show to Evangelion, but I do have to make this one point. What initially drew me to RahXephon were its similarities to Eva, because my inner Eva fanboy just needed something to critique. However, I grew quite fond of RahXephon because despite all of its similarities to Eva, it actually managed to have a satisfying conclusion that answered most, if not all of my questions throughout its 26 episodes. And that's something Eva couldn't even do, honestly. If you're looking for a super robot show with a lot more depth, I'd say tune in and give RahXephon a watch. Anyways, that'll do it for me. Have a happy holiday season, and I'll catch you next time on Mecha Mondays.